Before we begin, I would like to announce that I will be attending the 63rd Annual Convention of the American Society of Dowsers, June 8th through June 11th, being held at the State University of New York Adirondack campus in beautiful Queensbury, New York. The convention will feature dowsing demonstrations and speakers, a metaphysical expo and dowsing bookstore, a wellness center, and much, much more. The Queensbury campus is only 45 minutes north of Albany International Airport, and affordable on-campus housing is available. For more information and to register for this unique event, please visit www.dowsers.org. And now for today's podcast.
Welcome to High Vibes with your host, Bill G. At High Vibes, we're looking into what it means to be a fourth-dimensional being in an ever-changing world. We hope that by listening to our podcast, you can feel a greater sense of peace and connection as we collectively raise our energetic vibration to the next level. And now for today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to High Vibes. I'm your host, Bill G, and today's special guest is Erin Dail Plunkett. Now, Erin is somebody I've been trying to get on the show for a while, and I'm so super thrilled to have her here today because she has some interesting things to tell you about. But before we get to that, I just want to tell you a little bit about her. She is a certified emotion code coach. She also is a body care practitioner, certified hypnosis, transformational coach, speaker, facilitator, and she's also a published author. She has a passion for the workings of the subconscious minds and the role it plays in our emotional baggage and how it impacts and controls our physical and psychological health. And what we're going to be talking about today is some new protocols that she has developed that she's been getting a lot of mileage from her clients and a lot of good positive feedback, and that we want very much to share with you, especially if you're interested in raising your vibration, raising your health without the need for medical intervention. So, Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much for your patience in catching me.
So, let's talk a little bit first about your background. You know, what got you into doing what you're doing now, and how you have grown and developed through the many years that you've been doing this, because you've been doing this in this business for quite a while.
Yes, I have to admit that I'm not a child anymore. And I actually started in the energy field over 40 years ago. You know, I started with astrology, so I understood the whole premise of energy, that, you know, what the moon did to us and how it impacted us. So I moved a lot between jobs and husband and stuff across. So back then we didn't have the internet. So as I moved, I'd lose a teacher. Maybe just before I moved again, I'd find a teacher. But anyway, so what eventually happened a number of years back, I got involved with some stuff. And then my late husband, I will share, is, you know, took sick with cancer, and at that time there was nobody where I live in the area that, you know, could address the situation from a holistic energetic level, or that I could find, because I really wasn't savvy with the internet at that point. So we did the journey there, and you know, he is now on the other side, but I consider him to be a guidepost, which sent me even deeper into, you know, discovery of different things, energetic ways to help people to get optimum health.
So before we started the show, we were talking a bit about what is illness, and some interesting personal discoveries that I've had with my own personal health, and how health is often connected more towards our emotional state rather than our exposure to any particular nanoparticles or viruses or bacterium, that it is mostly how we present as disease is often a product of how we feel about ourselves or how we are relating to our world on an emotional level, rather than the what people assume that, hey, if I'm exposed to this virus or I'm exposed to that pathogen, then I get sick. It doesn't matter what's going on in my life or how I'm feeling about myself. I'm just going to get sick if I get contact with these things. And I've found time and time again that that is just simply not the case.
True, true. One of my mentors from one of the many certifications that I'm trained in, said that 95% of people that are sitting in doctors' offices today, their underlying cause goes back to emotional dis-ease. All right. And that's literally the way it's dis hyphen ease. They're not at ease with some emotion in their life. And that attacks them on a subconscious level that we're not aware of.
So one of the protocols that I use within my own practice of Akashic dowsing is trying to figure out what are those emotional triggers. And so what I do is I use the pendulum in my series of charts to find out what are those underlying subconscious things, because what we want is we want to bring that stuff out of the subconscious and into the conscious mind, because our conscious mind can deal with that stuff. Our subconscious mind doesn't deal, it loops.
We're dealing with a 4-year-old child. I mean, this is from all the studies I've done in with the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is wonderful. Okay. It's there. It's a gift from whatever anybody wants to call them, God, the universe. I'm source. No, I'm real flexible on that, but it's a gift. It's there to protect us. However, what 4-year-old child do you know can make adult decisions?
They sometimes come into my tax office when I'm doing taxes, and I had this one 4-year-old who came in with a family, and that was a bad decision, because 5 minutes into the tax interview, she looks at me straight in the eye and says, "You're boring." And I looked at her, right back at her, and said, "You are absolutely correct. Taxes are boring."
But if you want your toy, you better enjoy it.
That's right. But you can't convince a 4-year-old to enjoy anything or do anything that they are not intrinsically attracted to do. And the same thing goes with your subconscious. If your subconscious is fixated on something, even if it's something that's bad for him, like the 4-year-old wants that piece of candy, even though he knows that that piece of candy is not going to make him feel good, it doesn't matter. The world's going to end if you don't give him that piece of candy or that toy or that.
We do that as adults because that 4-year-old is still within us, and we'll take that extra piece. People will take that extra piece of chocolate cake,
Right.
and oh boy, do they feel like what afterwards. But that's that 4-year-old child that may have been deprived. Okay, and it's part of a belief system that they got injected into them from their environment that they were raised in or went to school in, or even generationally it can come down through the DNA.
That idea of, I don't have enough, therefore I need to take more, or
I am not enough. I am not enough, which is one of the number one problems that we as human beings have. And it's because of the environment we've been raised in.
So how do we turn that around? So you recently developed some new protocols. Does it address that emotional aspect of it?
It does. Yes, it does. And there's so much more. I've worked with the coaching part of my business, okay, helping people to release these limiting beliefs, all right, which I can, use an energy protocol for that, or I can, even if need be, use hypnosis or some other techniques that I'm trained and certified in. And then what has been happening for the last 2 years, what has happened specifically in the last just under 2 years is people started coming to me with health issues that they had never experienced before. And they had taken an injection that was an experimental injection that had not been authorized in this country, or actually in any country for that matter. Okay, it's completely under experimental. And what's come to light has been the companies that developed these injections. They knew from their lab rats that people would get these certain diseases, okay, because it's a disease and it comes from the lipid nanoparticles that are traveling in their body. And supposedly these lipid nanoparticles were going to stay in their arm, but they don't. They get into the heart, the lungs, they go into the kidneys. In women, they go into the ovaries, men, testicles. And then what's even scarier is actually they go through the blood-brain barrier. And there's been a tremendous rise in neurodegenerative diseases that, are, they're just exploding in this country. And to the point, I was sharing with Bill beforehand that the insurance companies who take statistics of that the death rate has gone up in this country in the last 2 years by 40%. They've never had that go happen here.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with people to help them with these issues. Okay. It started with people that were exposed to people that had taken these injections. But what's happened is now these actual people that have taken the injections are coming to me, and they're seeking support. And it's kind of like, and I learned this when my husband had cancer, was, people go to an oncology department, okay, and it says management. Well, that's what I do also. I manage people through these health crises, because that's what keeps coming up. They keep going into crises. I had somebody message me a few days ago. I met at a meeting, and she was very upset because of a friend, and I sent them my brochure. And she's like, yeah, she's talked about this. She's going through the list, so she wanted to give it to her. Well, I got a message last night. The woman's at the hospital, so she can't give it to her right now. She's had heart attacks, strokes, other things. This woman was a bank manager, can't work as a bank manager. And the 4,000+% up in disabilities in this country from this. All right. And, people are saying, how come, nobody wants to work? Well, people are sick. They're not feeling well. They're not able to work, is really what's happened. And then those people that have been exposed to people that have taken the injection, the people who have taken the injection shed these lipid nanoparticles. And when they shed it, they're exhaling it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the first way. Everybody exhales. Sorry, folks. If you're alive, we're exhaling. Okay. And if you're sweating, you're sharing these lipid nanoparticles, all right, because our pores have openings, and also, and then any other kind of fluids that you might be sharing with somebody, I'll just say. So, it's impacting a lot of people. Somebody I know from my grocery store, she it keeps missing work, but it's not because she took the injection. She's around people that are.
Mm-hmm. I find that too, that because in the tax office, I'm exposed to many people every single day, but I found that with myself that I'm not exhibiting any of those symptoms, even though I know that I'm exposed, because you're around, and you can even take the same argument when you're talking about a common cold, you're talking about a flu, or you're talking about anything like that. If all we considered is, even when the big panic of a couple years ago first came out and people were wearing masks and people putting up face shields and whatever, and all of that stuff was useless because these nanoparticles, whether they are viruses or they are man-made, they are still there because people are still breathing, people are still coughing, people are still talking. And so
And these nanoparticles can go through the holes in these
yeah, because
and
yeah,
these masks, whether they're made or cloth, people that were making cloths,
yeah,
the holes in them are bigger than the nanoparticle because it's so
yeah.
small.
But at the risk of being doom and gloom here, there's a silver lining here,
Yes.
because the silver lining is that whether or not you're exposed is a foregone conclusion. You are exposed. You live, you go to the grocery store, you have life, you experience life, you are exposed, period. So then if you have the belief system that if I am exposed, I get sick, then you will present as
or I get a cold once a year, and it's always at this time of year.
right. Exactly.
All
So
right.
there's a very strong belief aspect to that.
Exactly.
So I went into this year's tax season with the belief that I am not going to get sick. Now I got sick anyway, but it wasn't because of exposure. It was because my body was telling me I needed to slow down. And that was fine. I slowed down. I'm feeling better now. So that's great.
Can I, as a hypnotist, may I share something with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, that 4-year-old child,
Mm-hmm.
he or she is unable, key word, unable to recognize the word not,
Right.
N-O-T. So when we say, I'm not going to get sick, delete the word not, and you just told your subconscious mind, your 4-year-old child, I am going to get sick.
Right.
And I'm going
Right.
to prove it to you because I'm in the boss, not you.
Yes. Yes. And okay, well then let me rephrase. I went into this season saying that I am going to be well throughout this season. That
Perfect.
at the end of the season, I am I usually present with kidney stones and diverticulitis at the end of the season because of all the stress that I experience, in the tax office. That is simply is I'm just going to be well, and that's just all there is to it, because I don't have the time for that kind of crap.
And delete the word stress because that's a belief. Stress is a
Exactly, it
belief.
is.
All right. So I manage all my emotions
Mhm.
in a very beneficial way, and I easily and effortlessly glide through my days.
And so then at that point, it doesn't matter what you're exposed to anymore, even though that it's in your blood, it's in your system. I mean, you can even make the same case about, other viruses out there like Lyme's and that sort of thing. Because again, I've known people who have had Lyme's in their body, tested positive for Lyme's for years and never presented with a single symptom. And other people, the second they get that diagnosis, they're dead 2 days. They die later on because of the complications from that disease.
Well, the belief, their belief.
So let's talk a little bit about the protocol itself. Now, somebody comes to you presenting with these a conditions or a disease resulting from exposure to lipid nanoparticles. What's the protocol to try and address this?
Well, part of it is okay. Um, I keep them hydrated. Okay, because what I'm going to be doing is connecting with them on an energetic level. And as I like to use for novices, and I have in my videos, is I say for people to get an understanding about quantum physics that, we have our little earpieces or our cell phone. Actually, cell phone is better. And, we can talk to people all over the world, but we don't have a straight line that goes to that. Well, using my protocols, the beginning of it, I connect with people's subconscious minds.
Mhm.
All right. And I have different questions to really find out, to get to the root of the issues. And usually what I say is, all right, come to me, give me 3 issues that you may be, experiencing. And in the first, we do a discovery session. I offer that as a complimentary free session. I say it's 30 minutes, but it really runs an hour. So, but then, we set up their appointments, and my recommendation is we book the same time every week. All right, because I know me. If I have to think when an appointment is, forget it. We're out of it. We're out of it. So if I set an appointment at a certain time, Mondays at 5 o'clock, I've got a client that I work with. Okay, she knows when it's Monday at 5 o'clock. It's put in her subconscious mind. I'm having the meeting. So then we go through, and I start with using the protocol. What is the underlying cause for this? All right. And I let the subconscious mind lead the way as to where I need to go with the documents that I have. And, don't expect it to happen in one session. I mean, people that have been going to allopathic doctors for diabetes, they get the magic pill, so called. It isn't over. They got to go back every 3 months and get their blood tested. Well, when you work with me, be prepared. I can't tell you beforehand how long. Your subconscious mind, and what do I have to clear out? Do I have to clear out negative beliefs? Do I have to clear out emotions that are, from this lifetime, from now, your childhood, when you were in utero, or came down in the DNA? Because they did prove, and it was in Scientific American in 2015, that the descendants of people that were in the Holocaust and Auschwitz, 3 generations down, they had a higher rate of anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And in this current life that these people were living in, these descendants, there was no reason for it. It came through the genes. And I can repair DNA. That's another thing I work with.
Yeah, well, and that's actually sounds very similar to a lot of the protocols that I use as well. Again, it's
Mhm.
and the question that I get from clients too is, how long is this going to take? And the answer is, it will take as long as it takes. It really depends on how deep do we need to go? How far do we need to peel that onion in order to get to the root of what it is that you are purifying? What are you bringing into this
Mhm.
present moment right now that is feeding your choices? And that's why I say too, the disease is a choice. We are choosing to present and to be in distress in order for our subconscious to tell us something, because our body's communicating with us,
Yeah.
saying, hey, you need to pay attention here, and we're going to take you out in order for you to pay attention. Because if you're not going to pay attention, if you're going to have that headache and you're going to take some pills and you're going to make that headache go away, okay, we're going to break out the big guns now, and now we're going to break
Mhm.
your ankle, and now you're going to
Exactly. There's a book, and I showed it to you, about something before we started talking, that I, will look in, because I will check stuff. And, the title is Your Body Speaks Your Mind. And we're talking the mind, we're talking the subconscious mind, that 4-year-old child again, that's trying to communicate. And, they don't have the same language that we as adults have. I mean, many people are probably familiar with your inner child. Well, that's what it is. Our subconscious mind. And it can be layered. There can be multiple inner childs in there that we're peeling back.
So we got this ranting 4-year-old child in our subconscious, who it is our subconscious, screaming at us, demanding that piece of pie or that piece of chocolate cake, and wreaking all kinds of havoc
Pay attention to me. Pay
Hey,
attention to me. I'm trying to tell you something,
right. And
but not in your language.
not in the language you can understand, because 4-year-olds have their own language. I found even raising a 4-year-old, because my son's he's almost 16 now, but when he was that age, one of the things we learned how to do very early on, while he was in those terrible twos and threes and whatever, is we would sit down and we would listen to what he was actually saying. And people would say, oh, your kid's being bad, you need to. And I'm like, he's not being bad, he's just trying to talk. He's trying to communicate, and he doesn't have the words. And so we listen and we talk to him, and now he is one of the most well-adjusted 15-year-olds I've ever met in my life.
That's awesome.
Certainly more well-adjusted than I ever was.
We're working on it, Bill.
Right.
We're worked in that, for sure.
But it's so fascinating how how we treat our children is also how we treat our own subconscious too.
We're the most abusive to ourselves.
Right.
If people would stop and listen to what they're saying to themselves. I mean, this is something I teach my clients also. Stop. Hear what you're saying about myself. I mean, I listen to somebody that, technology's one of their less skills, we'll just say. And they'll say they're an idiot. And I'm like, and this is on, an online thing. And I'm like, would you please shut your mouth what you're telling yourself? Because you're anything but an idiot. You're probably a genius at everything else. Just this is, it isn't your expertise. It's just like I said to you, when it came to the insurance stuff, the actuaries are not my bag.
Yeah.
I kind of have a clue about them, but
I've got
I've
a clue
learned a
about
lot
them
more.
too. But the math that they use is beyond me. But what's interesting though about that as well, I got to be careful about that, saying those words too, because the math is not beyond me. Recently, I do taxes on the side, because everybody knows I do taxes on the side. And for the longest time, I resisted it like crazy. I mean, I got a master's degree in accounting, and I resisted it because I was like, I'm not good at math. I keep saying I'm not good at math. And
There's
then,
that word.
oh yeah, and then I said to myself, I'm going to just start saying to myself, I'm good at this. I am good at taxes. I am good at I'm a darn good tax associate. And sure enough, my error rate went down significantly. My clients are more pleased with me than ever, because I find stuff that they never even think of. And it's like, I'm really good at this. And I say to myself in the mirror, it's like, Bill, you're smart. You're a smart guy.
It just changed the way you're looking at things, and look at how things change.
Right. And after I started doing that, things started to change.
Mm-hmm.
I'm healthy. This whole thing, I started exercising more. So I started, I'm looking better. I've got more strength. I got more stamina. And when I look in the mirror, I say, Bill, you're a damn good looking guy. And then it just bumps up and bumps up and bumps up. And it happens. And next thing you know, you're like, wow, I am insightful. I am smart. And that kind of positive self-talk becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy, just the same as the negative self-talk becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. I will even share something with you. Somebody taught me. I had to have what do you call it? I had to have cataract surgery done after my husband transitioned, and I had to have it done on both eyes. It was like 50. Okay. And of course, they told me it was DNA or some stuff like that, heredity. And nobody in my family had it, but that's another story. And, I knew what he had checked off when he had it done. So I, made sure I checked off what I wanted, my vision to be afterwards. Well, we get done with the surgery, and, comes time to, tell me what kind of glasses to go to, you know, Walgreens or CVS, right? No, I had to get a prescription. I said, what? You have to have it, you need a prescription. And I'm like, that's insane. My husband had I think it was like a 1.5 or a 2.0. You could buy at the Dollar Tree. So, here I am. I have to spend all this money to get this. And, that was not the game plan in my head. And eventually, a number of years later, I met somebody else who, loved the subconscious mind. And she told me her story. She had all those cheapy glasses that I'm talking about. She'd have them at work. She'd have them all over the house, the car, and everywhere, because she was always misplacing them. Well, she decided one day, the subconscious mind is so powerful, I'm going to start saying this. So instead of putting the glasses on, she said, I see what I need to see. I see what I need to see. And I'll say that to you, Bill, because I see you have glasses.
Yeah.
So I went from prescription glasses to 1.0 Dollar Tree glasses, only if it's dark and I'm sitting here working in the computer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use glasses for anything, period. And that's with their lenses in these eyes, supposedly. So these aren't even my own lenses in my eyes. So that's the power of our subconscious mind over the body, even with other things put in there.
Okay, so how can people find you if they're looking for you to set up an appointment with you or just talk to you about what they can do to help themselves feel better?
Okay, the best way, because due to circumstances, I'm learning to work the technology. However, there's a lot of work that needs to be adjusted on my website. What I am having people do is contact me directly. So I like to get phone calls, all right, and then have you leave your name and number and let me know what you're looking for, because I be honest, with all the spam calls, I don't answer phones. I take messages. So my phone number is area code 978-703-8956. Now, if you want to email me that, I will give you that. I know that's a little harder, but the phone number is easier, but the name is ERIN as in Nancy, D as in David, AIL, P as in Peter, LUN as in Nancy, K as in Kevin, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, at gmail.com. And, I will respond to you, let me know, what, that you heard, and I will offer a discount. All right, a 10% discount if you book through the show with us tonight. So, but that's the best way to really reach me. And then we can set up your free discovery session. So we can see what your issues are, what you would like to do, what you would like to become in charge of in your life, because that's really what we're doing is, both Bill and I, we're empowering our clients. We're giving them the power and in a conscious way, not that 4-year-old child or the mass consciousness that's out there running the show these days.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff. So, but that's usually the best way to reach me.
Very good. So, Erin, thank you so much for joining us today, and a very interesting conversation. I hope everyone out there found this interesting too. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much, Bill, for the invitation. Namaste, everybody.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Bill and Nina G, please go to www.vitalbioenergetics.com. See you next time.